When you think of Britain, what comes to mind? When it comes to holidays, what comes to mind? Unfortunately for Britain right now, it seems to be suffering more than it was before the pandemic. It was Brexit that was concerning the UK's tourism industry. Now it's Brexit plus COVID and a really stupid Prime Minister, who we will discuss later. Hey everyone, welcome back to Political X. For more knowledge and updates on UK, European and US politics, make sure you subscribe to this channel. From national fuel, food and staff shortages, the second highest number of COVID-19 cases in the world, and now the government, the Tories, have voted to dump untreated sewage into Britain's famous coastlines and rivers, meaning you see condoms and sanitary pads instead of seeing otters and dolphins. There is so much sewage now that you have a very good chance of getting E. coli if you dive beneath the waters.
When at our local beach cleans we were finding increased sewage-related debris, and surfers were finding that they were getting sicker, and we were, as sea swimmers, were finding that we were getting iller and sicker. This is a good bottle of test water though. This bottle will go off to our lab and then we'll get the results back. Okay, so the results have just come in. It's not good. Yeah, as we thought, there's E. coli in the sea. It's not great. The EU have lovely, lovely clean beaches. Sure, they have some issues in some places when they have emergencies, but in comparison to the percentage of rivers and seawater clean beaches here, it's vastly different. The reason why the government relaxed legislation on releasing raw sewage into our sea is because they can't get the chemicals to treat the raw sewage to the water companies because there aren't enough lorry drivers. And the reason there aren't enough lorry drivers is because we don't allow foreign people to work in the country anymore. But because of Brexit, we don't have the chemicals. I mean, a lot of people will argue that it's not because of Brexit, but nowhere else has a problem with it apart from us.
So who wants to take a vacation in the UK at the moment? Not many. For 2021, the National Tourist Board Visit Britain has forecast that visitor numbers will be lower than in 2020, when travel restrictions were finally brought in and were at their most restrictive. Visitor numbers to the UK plummeted from 40.9 million in 2019 to 11 million in 2020, a dip of 73%. But 2021 is worse, with just 7.4 million visitors predicted to visit before the year is out, meaning it's down 82% on 2019. And although all destinations, of course, have been devastated by the pandemic, the UK's figures show that travellers aren't bouncing back as they are in Europe, which have seen visitor numbers swell over the summer. France saw a 34.9% growth on tourism compared to 2020, bringing in an extra 43 billion to the economy, while flights to summer hotspots Spain and Turkey have recovered to 64% and 74%, even for flights this winter. Greece was almost back to pre-pandemic levels over the summer, with 86% of the arrivals of July and August in 2019. The UK in turn managed just 14.3% of the 2019 levels, according to government data. The UK situation is a perfect storm. Rocketing COVID rates while European neighbours were stabilising, inconsistent travel rules, the effects of Brexit, which are now finally being felt. So what is the government action plan? It's frankly little. The government's spending on a tourism recovery plan is a joke. As other countries go all out to court visitors, our government begins to announce it was going to be dumping raw sewage into rivers and the sea. This is especially bad for the seaside resorts, who are already reeling from the devastation to its fishing industries caused by Brexit.
If I never had a bit of money in the bank and my wife wasn't working, I think we'd be out of an house, you know.
It's that serious since Brexit?
Yeah. There's people in here who's turned to drink because of the strength of this. Don't know where to go, what to do, how to pay their bills.
We could be in big trouble.
And so what is the prospect for your industry?
At the present, it's pretty bleak. Unless Boris can do something, maybe he can wave a magic wand. I'm not quite sure on that one. He did promise us that he had an oven-ready deal, but it strikes me that he doesn't even have the oven-ready deal out of the freezer yet.
You would think that the government would set aside a large budget to attract people to the country, but it hasn't. Visit Britain's core budget has been reduced by 35% in real terms over the past decade. The government's actions over the pandemic have also caused problems. While the UK was the first country in Europe to kick off its vaccination programme, in recent months it's lagged behind its peers. Just under 69% of Britons have been vaccinated, according to Johns Hopkins University. Portugal, on the other hand, is at 87%. UK COVID cases have been out of control during September and October, and although numbers are on the rise on the continent currently, with countries such as Germany now seeing massive spikes in infection rates and the Netherlands re-entering lockdown, the UK still registered the second highest number of cases in the world over the past 4 weeks. According to Johns Hopkins University, it's second only to the US, whose population has 330 million, which dwarfs the UK's 67 million. And while many other tourist-heavy countries have continued to mask mandates, in France, Spain and Italy, masks must be worn at all times indoors. The UK has trumpeted the slouching off of restrictions, and London transport is the one place in England with a mask mandate, but is routinely ignored. And of course, all of this is going to be broadcast to everyone around the world who is taking this seriously with masks, and therefore putting them off coming into the UK. But it's the pictures of the English that have made this worse. Throughout November, the idiot Prime Minister Boris Johnson faced criticism for not wearing a mask repeatedly. He did it during a tour of a hospital. He did it during time in Parliament.
There are lots of steps that we need to take to continue to follow the guidance, so commonsensical things, washing your hands, wearing a mask in confined spaces where you don't normally meet other people. I think where you're meeting people that you don't normally meet, I should say. That's sensible.
He was at it again when he was photographed at COP26, sitting next to no less than a 95-year-old naturalist, David Attenborough. And this was beamed around the world.
Do you want to answer what's going around on social media? You brought up the national treasure, Sir David Attenborough. And there you all were in the plenary. He's 95 years old. He was wearing masks and you weren't. It's all over the place.
Right.
You weren't wearing a mask yesterday, sitting next to 95-year-old national treasure David Attenborough.
Right. I've been wearing a mask when in confined spaces with people that I don't normally meet, and I think it's up to people to take a judgment about whether they're at a reasonable distance from someone, and whether they're with someone they don't normally meet. That's the approach we take.
But while the relaxation of the rules is intended to open up the UK, those outside are seeing it in a very different way. According to Marcus Lee, CEO of Travel China Online, safety is the number one concern for Chinese visitors. We're most sensitive and more careful than other countries. Seeing the Prime Minister not wearing the mask, of course, is sending out the message that in Britain we don't care. Great work, Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Passports have also become a problem. Since October 1st, EU citizens can no longer travel to the UK on their ID cards, which I'm sure many Brexiteers were very happy about. However, this is going to come back and hit us. Instead, EU citizens must now use passports. Around 3/4 of Europeans don't have passports, since they can travel around the EU with ID cards. If you're in a family of 4 and you suddenly have to buy everyone in the family a passport, imagine the cost. But it doesn't just stop there. Imagine how this affects school trips. Before they used to use ID cards, now they need the passport and they'll soon need visas. It means schools will either have to exclude kids on the grounds of ethnicity, which won't go down well, or they won't bother coming to the UK and we'll see a genuine drop in visitors. Coming to the UK was an immersive experience, both in English language and UK culture, and it's worth about 1.5 billion per year, just from European students alone. Now European groups are picking Ireland and Malta over the UK, as they have English language schools, but no red tape, no restrictions. According to English UK, the first year of the pandemic saw an 83.6% drop in students, and according to them now, feedback has been bleak, suggesting most parents would not go to the trouble and expense of obtaining passports for what are often only 2 or 3 week study holidays. And of course, this also means it only takes one student to stop the entire group, because if that one student doesn't have a passport, there's a very good chance the entire group are going to alter their plans and travel elsewhere. For a government that claims it's of business, for business and from business, boy do they know how to make mistakes. And we're talking on a level equal to that of Blockbuster failing to buy Netflix, or Kodak not utilising the fact they had a digital camera as far back as 1977. We could be offering tax incentives to shoppers from all over the world, and we've decided not to do that. Research groups have shown that over 50% of Chinese visitors and over 60% of visitors from the GCC would reduce the number of times they visit the UK and the length of time they spend here as a direct result of ending tax-free shopping. With Brexit, Britain had an opportunity to make the UK the shopping destination of Europe, but instead of expanding the scheme, the Tories got rid of it. For everyone. You might as well have put up a sign at Heathrow telling people from China and the Middle East to go to Paris or Milan to do their shopping. This is a real self-inflicted wound on the tourist industry. Another Brexit side effect is hitting big spending travellers from around the world, as well as Europeans. On January 1st, 2021, the government abolished the VAT Retail Export Scheme, which allowed tax-free shopping in the UK for non-EU citizens. That makes the UK the only European country not offering tax-free shopping to visitors from outside the EU. This is going to affect shopping centres across the UK, Bicester being one of the most famous. A government spokesman stated around 92% of non-EU visitors to the UK didn't use the VAT Retail Export Scheme, and extending it into the EU would have substantially increased the costs of the scheme. So rather than allow EU citizens to join the scheme post-Brexit, they axed it entirely. As we saw with them scrapping Erasmus, which brought in money, and now we see them scrapping the VAT scheme. We could be earning more, we're now earning less. And it's not just down to Brexit, it's also down to the incompetence of the Tory government. Finally, we've got problems of shortages in petrol, food and staffing. And we get to see this from George Eustice telling us, and all the other viewers on TV in October, that they get their turkey dinners as long as there was sufficient HGV drivers.
As much on the shelves at Christmas as we would normally.
Yes, we believe, we've been working very closely with the supermarkets on this, and although it's undoubtedly the case that there is a shortage of labour right through the economy at the moment, typically most businesses carrying vacancies of around 12 to 14%. That's a fairly typical figure. Now, although we've got those shortages, they are managing to keep their output going, and provided we can get sufficient HGV capacity and bring in the seasonal labour that we need for sectors like turkeys, then yes, we will get the food to the supermarkets for Christmas.
Like any tourist, would you want to go to a place where you're being told that there's a possibility, or there is, a shortage of food, staff, petrol. This is clearly creating a widespread perception that the UK is struggling to maintain its service economy. Maybe it's COVID, maybe it's Brexit, but the UK service economy has also taken a hit this year, worse than other European countries. The UK has been particularly badly hit by a Europe-wide lack of truck drivers, with many leaving the country after Brexit. October saw countrywide fuel shortages, and in the end the military had to be brought in to deliver gas to stations around the country. All of this is a highly damaging look to the United Kingdom. One or two issues you can gloss over. However, there is a clear multitude of issues which is being led by the Prime Minister. He has shown up the country to a level beyond belief. He has wrecked the economy. We do rely on tourism. It does keep towns alive. And Boris has helped deliberately destroy your lives, your towns, your tourism. Before we get to our final clip, I've got to say thank you very much to my ever-growing list of patrons. Really appreciated. And of course, if you'd like to become a Patreon of the channel, please look at the link in the description. For our final clip, and just to show how little Boris really gets business, I've taken a clip of the CBI meeting that he attended, which just looked catastrophic. I've put it into a highlight reel. But Sky asked him a question, a really flippant question at the end of the meeting, which is hilarious. So enjoy.
The pace of change is now going to accelerate like a new Tesla, because I can tell you as a former motoring correspondent.
And here is a clip from Top Gear of Boris talking to Jeremy about his knowledge of cars.
GQ magazine, your motoring column.
Yeah,
it is very good.
It's very few. I don't know anything about cars. As you know, I don't really know. I shouldn't say that actually. I do know. I know more than I used to.
Can I just share a little observation that Boris made about the Maserati here? Look how much has been crammed in. The great big fat long things, the vast doodah with the squiggly bits coming out of the... just look at those sucking...
Now, wait, Jeremy, what do you really know your stuff there about cars?
Absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
No, genuinely, I have no idea how an engine works. People have sat me down and said, no, the petrol goes in. Do you know?
No, not the faintest, no.
And then the EVs may not burble like sucking doves, and they may not have that rum, rah, rah that you love, but they have so much torque that they move off the lights faster than a Ferrari. And so with safer streets, with great local schools, with fantastic broadband, forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me. People will have the confidence to stay nearer the place they grew up, to start business, and business will have the confidence to invest. Hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World. Not enough. It's fantastic. I was a bit hazy what I would find at Peppa Pig World, but I loved it. And Peppa Pig World is very much my kind of place. It has very safe streets.
Very safe. I think this picture's the closest we're probably ever going to see Boris behind bars.
Discipline in schools. Heavy emphasis on new mass transit systems, I notice, even if they're a bit stereotypical about Daddy Pig. But the real lesson for me, going to Peppa Pig World, and I'm surprised you haven't been there, was about the power of UK creativity. Who would have believed, Tony, that a pig that looks like a hairdryer, or possibly a sort of Picasso-like hairdryer,
no longer British, it's now owned by Hasbro since 2019. Well done, Boris.
In your speech to the CBI, you lost your notes, you lost your place, you went off on a tangent about Peppa Pig. Frankly, is everything okay?
That has to be one of the funniest things I've ever heard to any world leader. Like, you sound deranged. Are you okay? It's just unbelievable. I hope you enjoyed my political observations this week. If you'd like to support me, please share the video with others and post about it on social media. If you're keen for more, subscribe, comment, like, and hit that notification button. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on Political X.